Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, we'll preview the Carroll City Chiefs. Plus, down in the Gables, something special might be brewing. And in Broward County, Cypress Bay is going to make a run at a district title. And we'll preview all of next weekend's important matchups. That and much more on the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki alongside my broadcast partner Don Bailey Jr. as we come to you from the Regal Entertainment Group Theaters here in Plantation, where we are more than just a movie. All right, Don Bailey, we've completed 3 weeks of the high school football season. You know what's interesting about it is how well these kids play early in the season. I think some of that is because football now is full-time.
It really is, Joe. It's year-round. Everything used to be just spring football, and then you would start fall practice. But now with the evolution of the 7-on-7s and all of the off-season training, you can see the difference it's made. It's really become a 12-month sport.
All right, we have some great teams to talk about right here, right now. By the way, the disclaimer is this: if we talk about you and your team doesn't have success, not our fault.
That's right. Don't put it on us.
If you have success, definitely we are behind that. All right, let's start off in Miami-Dade County with Carroll City. First of all, playing good football, and they might have some of the best names in high school football.
That they do. I'm going to let you get to that. But Aubrey Hill has got college coaching experience, a former Chief himself, an outstanding wide receiver both in high school and college, is doing a phenomenal job at Carroll City. He's gotten the talent up to a level to what they're used to seeing there. He's done a good job with the offseason, spend a lot of time in the passing game for obvious reasons. That's where he's most familiar. But more importantly, they are working as a team. The strength and conditioning is where it needs to be. Carroll City Chiefs are back on the climb.
They are in a tough district that includes Northwestern, Norland, Miami Lakes, and Central. So these guys are really going to battle it out. This is called Team Strong Arm, and they are led by their quarterback, Stephen Buckshot Calvert.
Well, you know that anybody named Buckshot is going to be successful, especially at the quarterback position. But Buckshot has got a strong arm, but he has enough touch as well to throw the intermediate and short routes. And with the schooling that he's getting from Coach Hill, he's going to be a success.
Now under Walt Frazier, Carroll City had the great running attack. Coach Hill was a wide receiver, so they are very deep at the wide receiver position, and they can chuck the ball around a little bit.
Well, what happens is you attract the receivers when you have a quarterback and a passing game, and I keep referring back to what happens in the offseason with the 7-on-7. The proof is in those. They've had success this year in the 7-on-7 drills, and more importantly, when you think about what Coach Hill learned under Coach Frazier, it is the importance of a running game, so I don't expect that they'll completely go away from that. They will keep enough of a running game in place to make sure the defenses play honest.
Carroll City can play some defense now, and they've got a tremendous name there. DeAndre Eye Candy Wilder. Eye Candy Wilder, one of the more dynamic playmakers in Miami-Dade County.
Well, make sure you keep your eye on Eye Candy, but he is a guy that has great speed, great athleticism, and he enjoys playing defense, which is important because that means he enjoys hitting people.
All right, Carroll City is off to a good start. District play hasn't started just yet for them, but when it does, it is a clash of the Titans, as I mentioned, Central, Northwestern, Norland, and your old school, Miami Lakes.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they get into conference play, because this year there really doesn't seem to be a player that's going to jump out. So it's going to be a battle every week.
Let's go to Broward County now and talk about Cypress Bay High School. After an opening night loss at Deerfield Beach, they bounced back with a big win over Terravella, 31-0. They're getting ready next week for a big matchup against St. Thomas. Mark Wandolo played for the state championship a couple of years ago, came up just a little bit short. Right now, perhaps maybe in a little bit of a rebuilding mode, but you know he's always going to run the football.
Well, you know he's going to be successful running the football. They're always going to have their penalties under control. The other side of it is as well, special teams. They've always been solid in that department. Coach Guandola is going to have his hands full playing St. Thomas. When I watched them earlier against Booker T, they showed to me that they are one of the elite teams, not only in the county, the state, but possibly in the country. They're stacked with D1 talent. They almost look like a small division college team in some respects with the size and speed that they have. But Guandola will bring his team, they will be prepared, and he'll have a game plan in place that will give St. Thomas all they can ask for.
This year, Cypress Bay is going to try to spread things around. We've seen that early in the season. 6 different players have carried the football for them, so trying to create some balance and not allow the defense to focus on just one player.
But what's funny is at Cypress Bay, they are spreading around with the running game, where other teams are spreading around with the quarterbacks and the receiver. I expect at some point that Coach Guandola is going to have to work some passes into the equation, but more importantly, he just wants to have a successful running game. That's what his offense is built around.
Defensively, he's got some size on his defensive line and very athletic in the secondary. You mentioned teams throwing the football around, so he's loaded up with some pretty good players on the corners.
Well, he's going to find out how good those corners are against St. Thomas. St. Thomas has probably the best receiving core in the country. A lot of D1 players there. 4 players committed, actually 2 of them to the University of Miami. You know that they're going to be tested early and often.
Cypress Bay will be battling this year again with Miramar and Flanagan. Let's go back down to Miami-Dade County, a team that in the past has run the football really well, had a very good season a year ago, won 9 games but came up short, losing to Columbus, and that is Coral Gables, coached by Roger Pollard.
The Cavaliers did a nice job last season. They understand what their makeup is and their chemistry is, and last year it proved let's run the football. This year the same thing. They've got players that are capable of going to D1 the last few years at that position, and they are going to continue to stay with running the ball.
They backed that run game up with a very stout defense.
It helps. When you combine a running game on offense and a stout defense, that means you're chewing up time of possession, you're getting first downs on the offensive side of the ball, and now you're minimizing the points of the opponent and their offense. It allows you to have a successful running game and victories.
They start the season with 4 straight non-district games. They've performed well so far this year. They're coming off a tough game this past weekend with Homestead. Up next for them will be Killian, so a good test for them going into district play.
Well, Joe, the key is for them, you have to almost look at this as an exhibition season where you understand that you have to get better every single week, but let's face it, the money games are coming. It's all about district.
Well, when it gets into the district, the team they got to match up with is Columbus High School. And that's always going to be difficult. Columbus, once again, is loaded, but Coral Gables can try to run that rock.
Yes, they will. That's the neutralizer if they can do that. And you know, let's give the offensive line a little bit of credit in that department as well. They wouldn't have the success running the football as they had without a good group.
All right, another great weekend of high school football throughout Dade and Broward County. Let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Good to see you, Joe and Don. Adam Cooperstein here with your highlights, and let's start with Thursday night. A team on the rise, Palmetto, taking on Braddock. Palmetto 2-0, and before their offense even gets on the field, Malik Bell returns this punt. You think he's down? No, he is not. 45 yards. That makes it 7-0 Panthers early in the first. Then early in the second half, Palmetto's quarterback, Hugh Lowson, finds Ivan Thomas right in front of our camera and into the end zone. It's a 20-yard touchdown. Palmetto wins 36-6. They are 3-0. How about Belen hosting Gulliver for some afternoon football Friday and making it look so easy? The Wolverines pitch a shutout. They roll 24-0. Belen gets its first win of the year. And here's a high-scoring game from Friday night. Jackson and Booker T at Traz Powell. Great catch here by the Tornadoes. That's Gustavius Dames in stride, juggles it, but he holds on and scores the touchdown. Jackson just poured it on. 38 points on the night. They hold off Booker T by 3, 38-35. The Tornadoes missed a field goal in the final 2 minutes, and that would have tied it. Ouch.
The South Florida High School Football Show is sponsored by the Miami Dolphins, Metro PCS, U.S. Army, Vera Cadillac Buick GMC, Tico Peoples Gas, Adidas, and Regal Cinemas.
The following are real customer testimonials.
I'm Davina from Pembroke Pines, and I buy my Cadillacs at Vera, and I get the best prices with no hassles. I love Vera.
We are Dawn and Scott from Davie. We bought our GMC Sierra from Vera. It was the most fun we've had buying a car, and it was the best price in South Florida.
Experience the Vera difference at Vera Buick GMC Pembroke Pines. Vera is 4 miles north of Sun Life Stadium.
My name is Gary Baumwalt, and my since moment was my 5th birthday.
Seldom does a team celebrate before a game, but in Miami, Dan Marino and Mark Clayton took time to wish a young Dolphin fan a happy birthday.
Gary, hey man, I want to see if you want another football.
Hey man, thanks. What's up, man?
Each one of us has our since moment. What's yours?
The South Florida High School Football Show's recruiting segment is sponsored by Metro PCS. Wireless for all.
We continue now from the Regal Entertainment Group Theater in Plantation, right here on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. Time now for our recruiting segment, and we're going to dive into the running backs, and this is an area where there is a plethora of running backs.
And there has been. Historically, South Florida, Dade and Broward County have pumped a ton of D1 running backs into the college level, and nothing has changed. It does not matter what part of town you go to, there are plenty of running backs to go around.
You could have an all-pro team from all the running backs, or a Hall of Fame team from all the running backs that have come through Dade and Broward County, from Elvis Peacock and Buster Rhymes.
Ooh, Donald Byrd, you're going old school,
yeah,
Joseph.
Willis McGahee and Frank Gore. Can you imagine the amount of running backs that have come through here?
Well, really, you may have some Hall of Fame NFLers that are in that bunch. And you look at this, and part of the reason why now the running back has become such a hot position is because of the receiving skills. You know, in the NFL, the running back has cooled off a little bit, but still in college, you have to run that football.
All right, we're going to dial up the running backs, which means we're going to dial up Troy Drayton right here on our Metro PCS LG3 Optimus 6. And I'm still dialing. A lot of people don't dial anymore, but I'm going to put Troy in my favorites. All right, Troy Drayton, let's hear about those running backs.
Thanks, Joe and Don, for this great phone. It actually fits in my hands. My hands are kind of big, but it does fit in my hands. But now let's get to our running backs from South Florida. This is a deep class, and when you look at the South Florida running backs, these guys are special. Our first running back is Deion McIntosh of Cardinal Gibbons High School, coached by Mike Morrow. Man, this kid is quick. He's the younger brother of R.J. McIntosh, who is currently attending the University of Miami as a defensive tackle. He wants to be there with his brother. He's also committed to the University of Miami as well. This three-star recruit has speed, has power, and he's going to be a great fit for this Mike Morrow offense. Our second running back is Zach Moss of Hallandale High School, coached by Damon Jones. Zach is a three-star running back. He has 4.6 speed and is committed to University of Miami, where his hero, Frank Gore, has gone as well. Moss won the running back MVP at Rival Camp in Miami, and last year ran for nearly 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. Our last running back is Amir Rasul of Coral Gables High School, coached by Roger Pollack. Amir is 5'10", 200 pounds. He's a 4-star running back. He ranks in the top 40 within Florida, but also ranks in the ESPN Top 100. Amir is probably the fastest player in the state. He has world-class sprinter speed. As a freshman, he won the 100 and 200 state championship. That's a look at our running backs, another great crop from South Florida.
All right, Troy, thank you very much. And next week, we are going to zero in on the wide receivers, and they are everywhere.
That they are is almost as powerful a group as the running backs, Joe, is the wide receivers.
When we continue, we'll have our Coach of the Week segment. We'll go up to Deerfield Beach, right here on the South Florida High School Football Show.
Tico Peoples Gas is awarding the 7th Annual Player of the Year Awards to a player in Miami-Dade and a player in Broward County. Fans can nominate a player by logging on to southfloridahighschoolfootball.com. Click on the Tico Player of the Year icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. After November 30th, revisit the site and vote for the finalist. The players receive a beautiful crystal trophy, and their school receives a $500 donation. Tune in to our National Signing Day TV show on February the 3rd, where the winners are announced. This Dolphin Players Flashback is sponsored by the Miami Dolphins.
This is Jamil Douglas, offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins. I went to high school at Cypress High School in Cypress, California. My favorite memory was probably winning CIF my junior year. Just a great group of guys, and one of my head coaches, Ray Fenton, is a great guy that I still keep in touch with. If I could offer any advice to a high school child, I would just tell them to enjoy the moment, because those are some of the best years of your life.
Vera Cadillac Buick GMC is awarding the Teacher of the Year awards to a teacher in Miami-Dade and a teacher in Broward County. Fans can nominate a teacher by logging on to southfloridahighschoolfootball.com. Click on the Vera Teacher of the Year icon. Nominations are open until December 30th. The teachers will receive a beautiful crystal trophy and a 6-month lease from Vera Cadillac Buick GMC, and their school receives a $2,000 donation. Tune into our National Signing Day TV show on February 3rd, where the winners will be announced.
You know why I brought you here today? Metro gives you unlimited data, talk, and text, taxes and fees included for $30, period. Holy! With 4G LTE data included.
We love LTE data.
On the nationwide 4G LTE T-Mobile network. Now, let's take some selfies. Switch to Metro PCS for nationwide 4G LTE. $30, period. Plus a free 4G LTE phone after instant rebate. Now, let's get a picture of your free phone taking a picture of my free phone.
For outdoor projects large or small, avoiding buried utility lines is more than food for thought.
What happened?
Know what's below. You or your contractor should always call 811 before you dig. Utilities will mark your lines for free. Brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas.
You love movies. Join the club and the movies will love you back. The Regal Crown Club. With every visit, you earn credits toward free movies, popcorn, and soft drinks. Plus, with a valid email, you'll get money-saving offers and special invitations to exclusive events. Grab a card at the box office, activate it at regmovies.com, or visit our Regal Movies mobile app. Then earn rewards with a swipe or scan of your card right from your phone. So share the love. Join the club, the Regal Crown Club.
The South Florida High School Football Show's Coaches segment is sponsored by Adidas. Stay up to speed with the fastest brand in football on Twitter and Instagram by following @Adidas FBall US.
We continue now in the South Florida High School Football Show from the Regal Entertainment Group Theater in Plantation. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. talking high school football. Time now to take a look at one of our coaches here in high school football from Broward County, Javon Glenn from Deerfield Beach. Has been there a long time as an assistant, but now he's the head guy.
Well, Joey spent about 8 or 9 years as an assistant coach, and he's earned the spot of head coach. I like to see that anytime that anybody gets promoted from within, but he has a complete understanding of the expectations of the administration of the school. He understands the location, the type of players that come in there, and more importantly, he's a part of the family.
Well, high school football was always about the neighborhood, and so Coach Glenn has been there. You mentioned the 9 years, and it's important that he knows who the students are, who the players are.
And more importantly, they know who he is. Still to this day, the high school coach, especially the head coach, carries a lot of weight. And he's one of the people that need to be identified as one of the leaders in the school as well, and he's done a great job with that.
All right, Javon Glenn looks like he has Deerfield Beach pointed in the right direction. For more, here's our Wesley Carroll.
Thank you, Joe and Don. I'm here with our Adidas Coach of the Week, Coach Glenn of the Deerfield Bucks. Coach, you haven't been here a whole long time, but what have you instilled in these players thus far?
Oh, well, I guess a misconception that happened. I've been here 9 years, my 9th year. My first year as the head coach. So most of these kids, they played under me for junior varsity, so they know exactly what I expect from them. They know the caliber of football I want to play. So it's kind of, they're my babies. It's a little different than, most new coaches.
No doubt, Coach. And, you have so much talent on offense, defense, and special teams. As a head coach, how do you control those guys that all want to touch the ball at any given time?
Well, we make sure we instill in our players from, we started our workouts for this season, December 26th after Christmas. And we make sure everybody knows it's going to be a family thing, a team thing. And it also helps that some of our better players, the Kevin Ridleys, the Jerry Judys, they're not selfish kids. So if those guys can sacrifice and say if they come out and just get, 2-3 catches a game as long as we win, then the other guys will follow. So it makes it easier.
There's so much talent in Broward County, especially in the Pompano Beach area. What separates a Deerfield from these other teams? What do you guys do in the off-season to help that separation?
We grind. Like I said, we started the day after Christmas and we've been going nonstop. We've gone on probably one of the largest college tours and that a lot of people. We actually went out 3 times. So we just make sure we continue to keep our kids. We get them, once they're inside these gates, we know that this is a safe haven. They all know that you have kids that just hang around even when we're not practicing. So we create that family atmosphere. We're doing stuff like our football room. We have gaming system, just little small things that add up to make a lot.
That college atmosphere certainly carries over when you've got high caliber athletes and really prepping them for the next level. Talk about some of your players that we'll be watching on Saturdays and hopefully Sundays in the future.
We have a plethora. I mean, everybody knows the big names, the Jerry Judys, the Kevin Ridleys, the James Pierres, the Aaron Robinson. But we have some guys that are young that they haven't burst onto the scene yet. But I feel blessed to be able to coach right now. We maybe have a roster of upwards of 20 FBS to high FCS caliber kids. So it's a great problem to have.
Once again, that's our Adidas Coach of the Week of the Deerfield Bucks. Back to you, Joe and Don.
All right, a job well done by Wesley Carroll. When we come back, we're going to preview some of the big games that will be played next weekend, including Cypress Bay and St. Thomas, as we continue right here on the South Florida High School Football Show.
Remember, South Florida high school football fans, you can stay in the know with the latest news and updates by following us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at HSFBall, Instagram at SFHSFS, and be sure to like us on Facebook at South Florida High School Football. Time now for the U.S. Army All-American nominees. Brian Burns of American Heritage School. Brian is 6'5" and weighs 212 pounds. Burns is a weak side defensive end who ran a 4.76 40-yard dash. He has received offers from the University of Miami, Georgia, the University of Florida, and Florida State University. Cedric Wright of Gulliver Prep. Cedric is 5'9" and weighs 180 pounds. He is a 4-star recruit as a strong safety with a 4.41 in the shuttle. His footwork and coverage will give him the edge in the secondary.
Whoa. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Class of 71, Miami Jackson, how y'all doing?
The following are real customer testimonials.
I'm Davinia from Pembroke Pines, and I buy my Cadillacs at Vera, and I get the best prices with no hassles. I love Vera.
We are Don and Scott from Davie. We bought our GMC Sierra from Vera. It was the most fun we've had buying a car, and it was the best price in South Florida.
Experience the Vera difference at Vera Buick GMC Pembroke Pines. Vera is 4 miles north of Sun Life Stadium.
Closed caption sponsored by Regal Cinemas, where we are more than just a movie.
We continue on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr., former center and team captain at the University of Miami. We're at the Regal Entertainment Group Theater in Plantation, right between Pine Island Road and University Drive, an outstanding location for the movies. In fact, this is where we are more than just a movie. Coming up this week, our broadcast game on the radio is going to be St. Thomas taking on Cypress Bay. This should be a really good clash, Don Bailey.
It absolutely should, Joe. Two very well coached teams, two teams with a lot of talent, but totally different styles.
Calling that game will be Mike Levine, and Mike has our preview.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Can you believe we're in week 4 already? St. Thomas Aquinas and Cypress Bay. Cypress Bay and STA have a lot of tradition between them. Obviously, one level higher in St. Thomas. They have a lot of titles at hand. Hey, St. Thomas coming off a big game against Booker T. That was the heralded one to start the year. At Cypress Bay under Mark Wandolo, this doesn't seem like he's been there about 100 years. Consistently a good football team. They're physical, maybe outmanned against St. Thomas, but we'll find out as our game of the week. Joe, Don, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. And some big games in Dade and Broward County coming up next weekend. Are you ready, Don Bailey Jr.?
I certainly am.
Here we go, our quick picks. Ferguson takes on Belen Jesuit.
Well, Belen Jesuit always well coached. I'm interested to see how good Ferguson is at this point of the season.
Miami High looking for an upset against Columbus.
Well, you got to understand Miami High's got their tradition, but Columbus looks like they'll come out on top.
How about Hialeah and North Miami?
Oh, that's a tough one, Joe. Hialeah was my rivalry, and I live in North Miami. I'm going Pioneers.
This is kind of a rivalry game. North Miami Beach is taking on Dr. Krop. That'll be a real tight battle there. How about South Miami and Miami Springs? In the old days, the Springs, that was a tough matchup.
Buddy Goins back in the day had that program going. They still have some good athletes there.
Clash of the Titans right here. Central will take on Norland.
Yeah, that's a big ball game. You're talking about Norland, who may have one of the best defenses in Dade or Broward County. Coach Heidelberg's doing an outstanding job there. They've got talent, and they got just enough offense to keep it interesting.
How about Killian and Coral Gables?
Always a tough battle. Like Coral Gables, they've got the running game that we talked about, and they've playing very, very, very good defense.
In Broward County, this has the makings of a very good game. South Plantation will take on Flanagan. Devin Bush's squad, they play some defense.
That they do, and I'm going to go with Coach Bush's squad.
Let's stay in Broward County. Cooper City and Hollywood Hills. You're familiar with Hills.
I absolutely am, but I think Cooper City's putting some things together. It'll be interesting to see the outcome of that ball game.
In West Broward County, it will be Western against Everglades. Those two teams, they'll be battling it out. That one could be decided in the final couple of minutes. Gulliver will take on Pace.
Yes, Gulliver will. Coach Zacchio back at Pace High School. Pace had a tough loss a couple weeks ago, so we'll see where they are at this point.
Boyd Anderson is going to be home against Naples. Boyd always has great athletes.
Yeah, be interesting to see how Naples makes the trip, but Boyd Anderson, being the home team, should have the advantage.
How about Miami Beach and Coral Park?
That's going to be an interesting ball game. Coral Park is still struggling to get back to where they want to be. Miami Beach got a lot of athletes, so let's see what happens.
Douglas is at home against Dillard. You know, Dillard always has the athletes.
Yeah, I'm always like Dillard. They always have the athletes. As you mentioned, they're well coached and they have got the speed burn.
Hollandale, that'll be home against Branahan. It's a rising team, Hollandale.
They really are, Joe. It's amazing what's happened with Hollandale over the last couple years. They've had some D1 players come out. It's attracted the attention to the high school itself, so I'm a big Hollandale fan.
Miramar, looking to bounce back. They'll be up against Plantation.
Well, the talent at Miramar is well documented, so they should have a good opportunity for a victory against Plantation.
All right, you did very well there. I think you passed the quiz.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much for joining us on our show. We'll talk more high school football next week. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next time right here on the South Florida High School Football Show.
The South Florida High School Football Show has been sponsored by the Miami Dolphins, Metro PCS, U.S. Army, Vera Cadillac Buick GMC, Tico Peoples Gas, Adidas, and Regal Cinemas.
We in Orange Crush. Take no prisoners. First down, big down. Second down, long. Third down, we hold. Fourth down, we on offense. Everybody on stage. Let's go. We'll break it down. Headbangs. Headbangs on three. Headbangs on three. 1, 2, 3. Headbangs.